I was really optimistic that this back line so far this season, I mean, the Olad thing was a little bit different because it was Mika Marmol, who's already with Barcelona Athletic again. So the first choice center backs they're 7-0 right now as far as goals scored to goals conceded. And it's a positive thing against Real Madrid, regardless of whether or not they had Karim Benzema. It's like the argument I made again, like Eric Garcia got undressed like 6 times last year. And 4 of those times were to Lewandowski, Benzema, and trying to remember the other one, and then somebody for one of the, we'll say, lesser teams in the Liga. But Eric Garcia wasn't often like totally ripped out of his boots too often last season. It was the best of the best to do that, which is also what Coolies are expecting. That hey, if you can't hang with the best of the best, then we don't really want you. We want somebody who's going to be able to contribute whenever we need to, right? In case there are other injuries or what have you. But yeah, I was really happy with Eric Garcia. And then Christensen. What about Anders Christensen? I felt like once again his debut. I mean, he was the last one I mentioned too. That it kind of went under the radar, but he just, for me, he seems safe. And as a center back, like I think that's a good thing.
Oh yeah, I agree. I was watching Christensen as well. I didn't really know what to expect signing him, but the perfect word is he's safe. He's very even keel. Doesn't really seem too nervous. Doesn't really forward under pressure. He knows where to move when there is pressure. Get the ball from Ter Stegen and find the right pass out. And he's also a very good defender as well. So I like that signing. I think he's going to, like I said, add depth. And then with the other signings that we're going to do in this transfer window, I think that we have a very underrated defense, if I do say, that can really give us a lot of clean sheets and really close out games, something that we had trouble with last season.
Well, let's say that Koundé is arriving. Like, let's do the hypothetical because it's been reported an hour ago, and I think most people are just saying Koundé is definitely arriving on Monday or for tomorrow or Tuesday for 55 million plus variables, or not exactly sure what it is, but it seems like he wants to come. And so far, all the players who wanted to come have arrived at the Camp Nou. But if you had to set aside or set up we'll say if we're going to play, say a 4-3-3, we're going to play it safe here. Say Xavi is not looking to do that 3-4-3 because I think that complicates it quite a bit. But if it is a 4-3-3, and I mean, it's cheating because you get to use Koundé or Araujo as the right back if you so choose, so you can throw in those rotations. But give me your center back depth chart, your left foot center back, your right foot center back. Give me that depth chart from top to bottom here, because again, PK also came on in the second half. And for all the things that he's saying, he's not done yet. He's not retiring. He's not hanging up. Yes, he has a lot of deferred payments. Yes, his personal life has gone through it in the last few months, but he's still Gerard Piqué. Not to say the Barca legend, but he still clearly has a lot left in the tank. Having not played, I want to remind you, international football in quite some years. And I think that has actually extended his career a bit.
If I had to, my top two, if I had to start them, surprisingly, it would be Araujo on the right, and then I would go with a healthy PK on the left. And then the second one, I would go with Koundé on the right, and then Eric Garcia on the left. I really do like I said, well, from what I've seen so far, I'm very happy and excited to see more of Eric Garcia, especially the passing. His passing is, I know that's what they were touting when they signed him, and I'm seeing it now, and I'm like, I can't wait to see more of Eric Garcia. And then just rotating Christensen in where you can, either between like Garcia or PK, just for rest or injury purposes.
Yeah, which is interesting because Christensen comes in on a free transfer. You wonder what exactly he was told his role was going to be, and you wonder how far along that conversation about Koundé was going to be. And the one guy you didn't name, and now we have to do, unfortunately, that part about Frenkie de Jong, is that because you didn't name Frenkie de Jong, you'd have to think that if Koundé is arriving, that even if you wanted Frenkie de Jong's days to be numbered, again, it's still a financial move. At the end of the day, it's still a financial move, even if there is sporting merit to it, because that's what we keep agreeing. That, I mean, if you're de Jong and you're saying, I mean, I watched the tape, Gabi, Kessié, Pedri, I don't think so, right? It's not de Jong's spot. He's fourth on that depth chart, and behind those three. And then, I mean, you have Sergio Roberto just to do that job, to just wander around the field. Or you have all these young players that we're seeing as well, these other midfielders like a Pablo Torre that, I mean, just give Pablo Torre those few extra 10 minutes instead of having to jam a square hole into a square peg in a round hole. There we go. And For De Jong at center back, this is an interesting one because I have for a long time, Jared, on this show and beyond, said that I think he would do his best in a 3-back line at Barcelona as a center back and be anticipating, be taking up space with his dribbling and keeping that defensive solidity with 2 center backs behind him, and basically turning into a diamond in the midfield. And I think that, not even a diamond, it's a double pivot, which again, if you look at what Xavi was trying to do in possession, because regardless, in possession, it's still a 3-4-3 because they're still getting those wings high anyway. Or a midfielder shuffles out and they still try to use the width of the field. So setting up in that 3-4-3, Dembele as a libero, I mean, you're really calling it like a 2-4-2-2 or whatever, you know what I mean? Whatever, especially with Ansu and Lewandowski up top in the box. Like that's really what you're looking at. You're looking at, almost there it is. It's a 2-4-2-2 or a 2-2-4-2, right? You know what I mean? With technically a double pivot, if you will, of Busquets and De Jong, but it's not because it's a functional double pivot because De Jong is only taking up that space and taking those positions when that space is available and he's able to dribble out of pressure. And I think, as again, I've said for a long time, like that maximizes his skills in the same way that Eric Garcia as a right center back, even though he's right-footed, playing him on the left and allowing him to be the one to use his elite ball playing, because I think he's even surpassed PK already as the best passer on that back line. And he's able to use that elite skill better on the left side than the right. And that's what function comes down to. So I think if De Jong is going to stick around, I think he's just too good of a player to not get any minutes at all. And it's going to be about function. I think it's going to be a problem that Xavi is going to have on his hands. And I mean, if De Jong stays around, again, I think he's going to get minutes. I don't think they're just going to put him in the stands. It wouldn't make sense because Xavi, just like with Dembele in the spring, we didn't know if he was going to come back. Xavi wants to win games. And if you're in his squad, he's not going to, especially for De Jong's going to get a number, as in his number. So it's not like he's going to lose his number to somebody else that they haven't registered yet, but will they be able to register others? So like we might, again, this might be a completely, not impossible, but it might be an unnecessary conversation because Koundé might only be able to be registered if De Jong leaves. So right, we might even be having this conversation for any fruitful purpose. But the one guy I would say is definitely going to be on the outs if De Jong definitely were to stay is Sergiño Dest, and he may be on the outs anyway, which is unfortunate because I mean you saw it live. Dest just, I mean, let's put it this way. Alba did not have a great game, but we know what Jordi Alba is, and I'm going to throw that away. But I would say that Alex Balde, who was having another one of his auditions as a young player, right? I thought Dest was closer to Balde than he was to Araujo. And that can't be the case. And I know Araujo and Dest are almost the opposite types of player, right? The things that Dest does well and Araujo, which is, it's not the same apples to oranges, but you understand my point, that the function of those wing backs, that Balde and Dest, it was almost indiscernible as far as which of these two is having the better game or has been more successful. And Araujo was clearly, when Dest came on, it was a downgrade of that position. So definitely worrying signs for me on Team Dest, because again, I could stand up for Eric Garcia, but Dest was a little bit harder, especially yesterday, struggling with Real Madrid in a worse way than he did in the October when he arrived and got thrown right in by Ronald Koeman to the El Clásico.
So going back to the De Jong thing, in the second half, you could kind of see where, like you're saying, it was more of a 2-2-4-2 or a 2-4-2-2, where De Jong was playing in like that central center back role, but he would step up and him and Nico would kind of be like not standing together on the same line, but Nico would be moving up a little bit and De Jong would be like right behind him, still right between where he would play his pivot and also be the middle center back. And so I thought he did great. There was one time where there was pressure and he did the De Jong run where he passed by everybody on the pressure and got the ball to the right person. And I was like, that's like you said, that's exactly what he would be best for. And then moving into Dest, after we went up 1-0, I'm not gonna lie, my anxiety kind of dropped. I knew that we kind of had the game because everybody, I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of people know that without Benzema in the game, Real Madrid really doesn't have much of an attack. So I knew that they wasn't really going to pose much of a threat. But when they took out Araujo and brought in Dest, my anxiety kind of raised a little bit because I want him to succeed so much. But like you said, he's closer to a Balde than he is to out, and yeah, that's very disappointing.
Well, it's also about value. He has resale value still,
True.
and most clubs around, especially the top clubs, are looking for a cheap, well, relatively cheap young outside back that they might be able to hit on. I mean, even looking at the career of João Cancelo, like it took him a while to in Valencia. He had hot and cold moments, and then it was his second year at City when he was 27-ish, right? I think he's 29 now or whatever it is, or 30. And so it took him till about 27 to say, oh, that's a fullback in that elite category, even though he had played for Valencia and even his first year at Man City, not really knowing where he fit. And now he can play on both sides. And Dest can do the same thing, right? That's the argument about Dest too. Like it's the same function about Sergio Roberto, where for the number now that Sergio Roberto makes and the concessions he made with his contract for the club, and he's hanging out as a fourth captain, whether you're upset about his blonde hair, that might be the only thing you can be upset about Sergio Roberto, because it seems like he's fully accepted his role, that he is guy number 22, 23, 24, 25 on the squad list. I mean, that's his role now this season. He can be a backup right back when necessary. But again, if Koundé comes in, I mean, Dest is probably only going to play right back under Xavi, not going to play on the wing, obviously, at all, because he's competing with Dembele and Rafinha on the right side. So that's nuts. And then his backup position really should be that backup left back spot. If Balde isn't a better option there, and maybe he is, especially if he sticks around to play Barca Athletic, though I think that's going to be a conversation that we're going to keep having this summer because Jorge Mendes is Balde's agent. So not so sure about that.